My name is Richard Hale. I was born and raised in Jackson, Mississippi. 65 years of life, most of it spent building a reputation I thought mattered. I wasn't just another man with strong beliefs. I was the one people listened to, the one they followed. My voice carried weight in rooms filled with men who believed the same things I did. For over 40 years, I led them. I was proud of it. I thought I was doing what was right. I justified everything, every word, every act of hatred, telling myself it was God's will, that what we were doing was righteous, that we were protecting something sacred. But I was wrong, and I didn't realize how deep that lie ran until the day I died. One evening, it all ended. I wasn't sick. I don't have any reason to worry about death. It came fast. It came without warning. I had been standing in my backyard watching the sun go down. There was a storm rolling in from the west, thick black clouds swallowing up the last bit of light. I liked storms. They made the world quiet. No cars, no people, just the wind and the distant growl of thunder. Then the air changed, a sharp electric charge in my chest. It wasn't pain at first, more like something reaching inside me, pulling, twisting. My knees buckled. I hit the ground hard. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. I tried calling out, but no one was there. I was alone. At first, there was only darkness, a thick, suffocating kind. It wasn't just around me, it was inside me. It was heavy, alive. And then from somewhere deep in that void, I heard them. Cries, wailing, agony, not loud at first, just whispers, distant echoes. But they were getting closer. I tried to move. I couldn't. I tried to speak. Nothing came out. Then a voice called my name. Not angry, not condemning, but powerful. Richard. Everything changed. The darkness pulled back like something was retreating from a force greater than itself. And then I saw him. The moment I looked into his eyes, I knew every single thing I had ever believed, everything I had ever done, was a lie. And he asked me just one question. What have you done in my name? Stay with me. You need to hear this, because what he showed me next changed everything.
Before we begin, I need you to do something. Hit that like button, subscribe, and tell us where you're watching from. This isn't just a random video. It's a message you need to hear, because what you're about to witness, it's real, it's chilling. And for some of you, it might be the wake-up call you didn't know you needed. A former Klan leader died, his heart stopped beating. And when this happened, he was taken somewhere he never expected. He stood face to face with Jesus Christ, and everything he thought he knew was shattered. What he saw changed him. And if you let it, it will change you too. Stay until the end, because trust me, you won't want to miss a single word.
Everything had gone black. The kind of black that isn't just darkness, it's absence. No light, no warmth, no sound. Just a thick, crushing emptiness that felt like it was swallowing me whole. At first, I thought maybe this was it. Maybe death was just nothing. But then I heard them. It started as a whisper, so faint I wasn't sure it was real. Then it grew. Slow, steady, curling through the black like smoke, wailing, sobbing, screams, the kind of sounds that make your stomach tighten, like something terrible is just out of sight. I tried to move, my arms wouldn't lift. I tried to speak, my throat burned, but no words came out. My body was gone. That's when I felt it. It wasn't heat, not fire, not the flames I had always pictured when someone talked about hell. It was worse. It was absence. The absence of everything good, love, hope, even the faintest trace of comfort, gone. And the pain, it wasn't physical, it was something else, something deeper. Something I had never felt before, and I realized why. For the first time in my life, I was feeling what they felt. Every scream wasn't coming from strangers, they were coming from me. I was being dragged through my past. Every act, every choice, every moment of cruelty, I wasn't just seeing it, I was living it. But not as myself. I was inside them. The father who woke up to find his windows shattered, the warning we left in the dead of night, I felt his fear. The kind that takes your breath away, that makes your hands shake as you rush to check on your children, whispering prayers that no one comes back. The teenager we beat until his body went limp. I felt his pain. Every fist, every boot, every crack of bone, the terror of knowing no one was coming to save him. The mother whose church we burned. I felt her grief, the helplessness of watching everything sacred go up in flames, knowing the men who did it would never face justice. It didn't stop. I couldn't close my eyes, couldn't shut it out. It was endless, and it was mine. I had always thought of guilt as a passing thing, a feeling that faded over time. But this was different. It was like being forced to hold the weight of my own sins, but there was no end to it. And then through all of it, I heard something else. A voice, steady, unmoving. This is your legacy. I don't know how long I was there. Time didn't exist. Seconds, hours, years. It was all the same. I tried to scream, tried to beg. I would have done anything to make it stop. But the voice, his voice, wasn't finished. You chose not to know. That's what cut the deepest. It wasn't ignorance. It wasn't that I had been misled. I had chosen this. The truth had been there all along, in the scriptures I twisted, in the sermons I ignored, in the eyes of every person I condemned. I had seen it, and I had turned away. I thought I had power. I thought I had control. But there, in that place, I realized the truth. I was nothing. And then, just when I thought I would break, the voice called my name. And everything changed. I should have been swallowed by the dark. I felt it pulling, twisting, waiting to take what was left of me. But then it stopped. Everything around me recoiled, as if something greater had entered the space. And then I saw light. Not like the sun. Not like a fire. It wasn't burning, yet it consumed everything. It wasn't blinding, yet I couldn't look away. And at the center of it stood him. I knew it before my mind could process it. Every part of me, every broken, wretched part recognized who he was. Jesus. But not the one I had spoken of, not the one painted on church walls. This was no pale, soft-featured man draped in European robes. His skin was deep, rich, glowing like burnished bronze. His eyes, God, his eyes held everything. Love, sorrow, a knowing so complete it stripped me bare. I tried to stand, but I had no strength. My body, if I even had one, collapsed under the weight of his presence. And then he spoke. Richard, what have you done in my name? His voice didn't thunder. It didn't need to. Those words alone shattered me. I wanted to answer, to justify, to explain, but I couldn't. Because the moment he asked, I saw it all. Not as memories, as reality. I was in the church we defiled. I felt the fear of the congregation, their prayers trembling in the air. I was in the house we burned, choking on smoke, hearing a mother beg for her children's lives. I was the young man we left bleeding, my ribs broken, my breath shallow, my heart pounding in terror. I was them. And for the first time I understood. I hadn't just wronged people. I had stood against God himself. He let me see it all. The scriptures I twisted, the lies I clung to, the hate I called righteousness. I saw the truth about the curse of Ham, a lie built to justify cruelty. The Tower of Babel, never about race, only human pride. And worst of all, I saw how I had used his name to do the very things he despised. He didn't condemn me. He didn't rage. He only showed me. And in his silence, I felt a horror deeper than any punishment, because I knew I had done this to myself. And then he asked me again, Richard, who did you think I came for? I had no answer, because in that moment, the truth was undeniable. Everything I had lived for was a lie. I was raised to believe a lie. It was fed to me by men I trusted, preachers, leaders, my own father. They said it was in the Bible, so I never questioned it. I taught it. I built my life on it. But standing before him, I saw what I had done. And then he showed me the truth. It started with the curse of Ham. That was the foundation of everything we believed about black people. We twisted scripture claiming that Noah cursed his son Ham, making his descendants, Africans, perpetual slaves. But what Jesus showed me, it was a lie. The curse was never on Ham. It was on Canaan, one of Ham's sons. And the Canaanites weren't African. They lived in what is now Lebanon, Syria, Israel. The entire idea that dark skin was a punishment from God, it never existed in the Bible. It was created by men who wanted an excuse for slavery, and for centuries people like me used it. We wrapped it in scripture, we preached it like it was the word of God, but it was never him. Then he took me further. I saw Africa, not the land of savages we had mocked, but a place filled with kings, scholars, builders, warriors. Long before Europe rose from the ashes of the Dark Ages, Africa had thriving civilizations. Ethiopia, Mali, Ghana. Empires that had roads, libraries, universities, while my ancestors were still clawing through medieval squalor. I saw Timbuktu, a city of wisdom, with manuscripts so vast they could fill entire libraries. Scholars wrote about mathematics, medicine, astronomy, things we were never told Africans studied. Then I saw the kingdom of Aksum in Ethiopia, one of the first nations to embrace Christianity. They didn't get it from white missionaries. They had it before Europe. I saw ancient churches carved from solid rock, priests preserving the faith for centuries, monks holding manuscripts so old they carried the words of the early church untouched by Western hands. And then he showed me something that shook me to my core. Jesus himself as a child, fleeing to Africa. I watched as Mary and Joseph took him to Egypt, seeking safety from a king who wanted him dead. The very land you despised, Jesus said, gave me refuge. I couldn't speak. For my entire life, I had believed that white Christians were the chosen people, that Africa was cursed. But now I was standing in front of the Son of God, and he was telling me Africa had sheltered him, and he wasn't done. I saw Moses' wife, Zipporah, a woman from Midian, a region in what is now Sudan, a dark-skinned African woman. I saw the Queen of Sheba, coming to learn from Solomon, bringing riches that rivaled kingdoms. I saw Simon of Cyrene, the man forced to carry the cross of Jesus on the way to Golgotha. He wasn't just some passerby. He was a man from Libya, a North African, a black man who touched the blood of the Messiah before he died for the world. I saw the Ethiopian eunuch in Acts 8, the first recorded non-Jewish believer, baptized before Rome even knew Christ's name. I saw St. Augustine, one of the greatest Christian thinkers of all time, a man whose writings shaped the church. And he was North African. And then Jesus looked at me. You were never better than them, he said. You just chose to believe you were. I had built my life on a lie that made me feel powerful, a lie that let me justify hate. But the truth, God never cursed black people. He never made them lesser. Men did. Men like me. And now I had to live with that. I thought it was over. I had seen the truth. I had felt it. I had stood before the one I had spent my life claiming to follow and realized I never knew him. I was waiting for judgment, expecting the fire, the darkness, something to pull me away to finish what had already begun. But then he spoke again. You're going back. I blinked. I didn't understand. Going back? Why? I had nothing left. No excuses, no defenses, no reason to be saved from what I had done. And yet, he was sending me back, not because you deserve it, he said, but because there is work to be done. I felt the weight of those words. They weren't a gift. They were an assignment. For decades, I had spread poison, words and actions that tore through communities, that planted fear and hate, that built walls where God had meant for there to be none. Now, in what little time I had left, I was being sent back to offer the antidote. I wanted to ask how, where to start. What I could possibly do to undo everything I had built. But then he showed me a man, Saul of Tarsus, a man who had spent his life hunting down followers of Christ, throwing them into prison, standing over them as they were stoned to death. He thought he was doing the right thing. He thought he was defending God. Until he met Jesus on the road to Damascus, until he was blinded by the truth. And when he could see again, he wasn't Saul anymore. He was Paul, an entirely new man, with a mission to bring reconciliation where he had once brought destruction. That's when I knew. This was my road to Damascus. I wasn't being sent back to clear my name, to ask for forgiveness, to make peace with my past. I was being sent back to speak the truth, no matter the cost. I would lose people. I would be hated by the very ones who once stood beside me. Some would call me a traitor. Others would say I was weak, that I had lost my mind. But the truth, I had finally found it, and now I had to speak it. I don't know how much time I have left, but I do know one thing. I will not waste it. I don't know why I was sent back. I don't know why a man who spent most of his life working against everything Jesus stood for, was given another chance. But I do know this. You won't get forever. One day, your breath will slow, your heart will stop. The world you know will fall away, and in that moment, only one thing will matter. Not your money, not your reputation, not your politics, your opinions, your status, just truth. And the truth, you already know it. You feel it when you're alone, when the noise is gone, when you're lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, asking yourself questions you're too afraid to answer. Is this all there is? Am I really who I say I am? What happens when this is over? I had convinced myself I was right, that my beliefs were the only ones that mattered, that I had everything figured out. Then in a single moment, I saw everything I had ever done, and I couldn't take it back. The way I spoke to people, the way I dismissed them, the way I hurt them without a second thought, every decision I had made, every time I ignored what was right because it was easier, every time I excused myself, telling myself it was just the way things are, it all stood in front of me, and I had to answer for it. You will too. I don't say that to scare you. I say that because I have seen it. And you still have time. Because to me, I never had a thought that this was how life is until I died. I am a man who had in mind that he had gained and known it all. My subordinates followed my footsteps in all that I did. I was actually leading them to the wrong path in life, ignorantly. This is how it is to everyone listening to this testimony today. Maybe you think you're fine. Maybe you think you have it all under control. But ask yourself this. What if you're wrong? What if you're standing at the edge of something you don't understand? What if you're looking at your own life from the outside, realizing too late that you wasted it? What if everything you've built, everything you've believed, everything you've clung to crumbles in an instant? Would you be ready? Or would you beg for more time? I begged. It didn't change what I had done. I don't know you. I don't know what you've done, what you believe, what you tell yourself at night when no one's listening. But I know one thing. You don't have to end up like me. You can change. You can make things right while you still have breath in your lungs. You don't have to wait until you're staring at the truth with nowhere left to run. But that choice, it's yours. Right now. What will you do with it? You've heard the story. Now the question is, what will you do with it?
This isn't just about Richard Hale. This is about you. One day, you will stand before Jesus. Will you be ready? Drop a prayer in the comments. Let the world know where you stand. If this message shook you, share your testimony. If you've been struggling, ask for prayer. Someone will see it. Someone will pray for you. And before you go, subscribe or don't. Maybe you're not ready to declare Jesus as your Lord. Maybe there's still something holding you back. Maybe you're scared to let go of what you've always believed, and that's okay. But ask yourself, if you truly love Jesus, would you hesitate? Because the ones who love him stand up. So what will it be? I'll leave that between you and God.